I want is a good home and a wife and a children and some food to feed them every night. Build a new route to China if they'll have you. Who will survive in America? Who will survive in America? Who will survive in America? Who will survive in America?
Real quick question. If the vaccine hasn't gone through the final clinical trials, and if that same vaccine hasn't even been approved, how the hell can you have, quote, doses of vaccine already stockpiled? What's really going on here? Let me ask you something. Are you going to willingly roll up your sleeve and trust the word of mainstream media teleprompter readers, corporate oligarchs, political panderers, military leaders, and big pharma overlords? Are you going to trust them with your health and the health of your family? There's a good chance that those who want to force you to wear the mask today will want to force you to take the vax tomorrow. The question is, will you comply? And what exactly is it that they have stockpiled if there is no approved vaccine yet?
Today, I want to update you on the next stage of this momentous medical initiative. It's called Operation Warp Speed. That means big and it means fast. A massive scientific, industrial, and logistical endeavor unlike anything our country has seen since the Manhattan Project. Today, my administration released our detailed national vaccine distribution plan. And that includes a plan to ensure that we swiftly deliver the vaccine directly to America's senior citizens in nursing homes, and it's all set. We have our military lined up. Everybody's lined up. You really could say that nobody's seen anything like we're doing, whether it's ventilators or testing. Nobody's seen anything like we're doing now within our country since the Second World War. Incredible. To get the vaccine into the hands of American people, we're fully mobilizing the awesome power of American industry and also our military. We'll be able to distribute at least 100 million vaccine doses by the end of 2020, and a large number much sooner than that.
Now, on the topic of KILLING, when you consider that Trump, too, has openly supported fast-tracking the untested for human health consequences, FIVEG.
The race to 5G is a race America must win, and it's a race, frankly, that our great companies are now involved in. We've given them the incentive they need. It's a race that we will win.
My question for you, particularly Mr. Gillen and Mr. Perry, how much money has the industry committed to supporting additional independent research? And we're talking about research on the biological effects of this new technology.
There are no industry-backed studies, to my knowledge, right now.
So essentially, the answer to my question, how much money? Zero.
I can certainly follow up with you, Senator. To my knowledge, there's no active studies being backed by industry today.
So there really is no research ongoing. We're kind of flying blind here, so far as health and safety is concerned. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This untested FIVEG that he specifically moved to deregulate and fast-track and push into rural areas at the exact same time when CV19 was taking off, so most can't even see all the new infrastructure going up, and then to put the leaders of the various three-letter agencies in charge of ensuring its deployment. Another military term.
It must also cover every community, and they must be deployed as soon as possible.
You know, there's probably a lot coming forward soon about not just only new cases. I would expect to see people actually, I don't even want to say the word, because you can't see any words here on YouTube now, but let's just put it this way. FIVEG has the capacity to cause people to not be able to breathe, not by going through their lungs, but this is a technology that essentially it works like a laser. And so maybe I'll supplant some video here of what it actually looks like as you're walking by. So if you can see people walking on the sidewalk, of course, face detection recognition is not at all difficult anymore. It would be very easy, mask or no mask, for these things to be able to lock onto your face and to cause the oxygen to be disrupted because it is not a mystery. 60 gigahertz impacts the oxygen molecule. Okay? That's common knowledge, not a theory of mine, not some wild thing. It's how it works. And so if you're in an area in a larger city and you suddenly can't breathe, run away. Get unlocked from that. Get any phones that you have turned off. You can block it. It's actually very easy to block this stuff. It's not like it's coming out in an ocean of waves. It's actually a laser. And with the masks on, if your oxygen is disrupted under the mask, you can only imagine how crazy that is. I am trying to put together a video regarding what I believe are some testing that was done covertly on some of our children in schools. And maybe I'll put a couple of clips of that here.
Every time I go to the school, I get sick. It starts with a headache, and then you get dizzy and lightheaded.
It's a bizarre feeling, and nobody knows what's causing it.
It is affecting our students. I have seen students can't catch their breath, have severe headaches.
It started more than 130 days ago in September when the principal and another staff member nearly passed out in the main office. They were rushed to the hospital. The school was evacuated. The air was deemed safe.
Yes, in case you're wondering what I'm getting at here, I'm reminding you that yes, America has had a long, unethical track record of performing experimentation on its own people without their knowledge or consent, even as admitted in Wikipedia. We know that millimeter waves such as 60 gigahertz have been a decent part of our military defense strategies since the 1960s.
And some think that these could be the forerunners of a new type of directed energy weapon, part of a family of weapons which operate within the radio frequency segment of the electromagnetic spectrum and are thus referred to as radio frequency weapons. Dr. James Frazier has researched electromagnetic effects for the Air Force for over 10 years. And he, like a small but growing number of weapons experts, feels that radio frequency, or RF weapons, could be the wild card in the ongoing arms race.
You could have tremendous amounts of radiative power. And what you did with that power then is a matter of engineering design and what your goal is.
Robert Bass, a physicist and PhD in mathematics, is working on U.S. weapons research. He says that the Soviets seem to be ahead in a number of areas, and especially in RF weapons.
We are behind the Soviet Union in directed energy weapons based on 60 gigahertz microwave beams, in directed energy weapons based on 60 gigahertz microwave beams, 60 gigahertz microwave beams.
Dr. Bass and others feel the most likely form of Soviet RF weaponry would be high-powered microwaves, similar to a focused, ultra-high-intensity radar beam. It would literally cook humans and knock out computers and electronic surveillance and communications gear.
So I have no doubt that there is a good idea of what exposure to these waves could actually cause. But considering these mystery illnesses that appeared in various schools across the United States, that these unwitting schools all desperately tested for air, water, mold issues, found nothing. I'm just saying, these look a whole lot like potential FIVEG experiments to me. Joe Imbriano, the YouTuber who first exposed this, stated that someone who worked in one of these schools was told to install this stuff out of the box. They assumed it was just a router, and so no one had any idea what it would do. Now, listening to these people's symptoms, these clips give us clues as to what they will do. Besides traditional symptoms that happen to also reflect CV19, like shortness of breath and headaches that these kids had, they also report similar symptoms to the kind of symptoms we first saw in China, remember? With the dizziness, passing out in broad daylight in the middle of the street, even seizures. And do you remember that Wuhan, China was a pilot city for its new FIVEG tech? Then you add the huge and dubious fact that the media, pre-programming, has already been planting seeds that it's suspected that CV now can result in new neurological manifestations. Wow, like brain issues, dizziness, and trouble walking. I can just hear it now. To me, this looks like a perfect pre-planned storm for the total world shutdown, dark winter, and subsequent worldwide reset that psycho nerds like Bill Gates and AI-worshipping technocrat Klaus Schwab seemed almost gleeful to obtain.
So we'll have to prepare for the next one. That I'd say is will get attention this time.
There will be likely a resurgence of COVID-19 this fall. It'll be greatly compounded by the challenges of seasonal influenza.
We will have coronavirus in the fall. I am convinced of that.
Without better planning, 2020 could be the darkest winter in modern history.
Not to mention, it will perfectly play into the left-right masked versus unmasked subplot they've been investing in regularly. Now, going after the kids and the innocent, well, that would not be a new tactic and would only help seal the deal faster. In my opinion, that's easily the kind of tactic psychopaths like this will take to get the control they want. So yeah, I see this happening, and I sure hope I'm wrong. But with all the precedents that have already been said about how little it takes to be diagnosed, this wouldn't surprise me at all, and I can see it working. Just know that if suddenly tons of kids at school suddenly are not able to breathe, God forbid, passing out or worse, or if people in urban areas suddenly start keeling over, don't go into a tizzy for fear for the CV like most others will, who will assume it is indeed some new crazy strain. I'm just saying, could very well be millimeter waves. The wiles of the enemy. Get your child away from any potential source. Was this stuff installed in schools over the long break when we were all locked inside our homes and Trump excelled the 5G rollout? By the way, FIVEG towers aren't big, they're small. They can look like this. It's not much bigger than a decent-sized router.
First at 5 o'clock, some parents in Dewey are concerned for their children's health after several students had seizures and trouble walking and talking.
I let my daughter go every day, and it's like rolling the dice. She may wake up the next morning not be able to move her legs. Yeah, she may be at school and have seizures. She may not be able to speak right.
Lexi, are you okay? Tara Madden says she hasn't had a normal conversation with her daughter Alexis since Wednesday. She says Alexis is barely able to get her words out. She shared video with us of her daughter's symptoms: trouble talking and walking.
She can't walk. She walks like a toddler, learning how to walk for the first time.
Doctors have diagnosed some teachers with an inhalation exposure injury and advised them not to return to school. Until the district can pinpoint the cause of the illnesses, some teachers say they just want out.
Please just relocate everyone. I know logistically it might be a nightmare, but it's people, the health is involved.
For every single department, the United Nations had an equivalent department to deal with everything. It was already set up, in fact, to be global government. H.G. Wells said at the League of Nations, which was the embryo for the United Nations, he said this is the nucleus of the world governments, when eventually all laws will come from there, be passed and signed into law by treaty of all the member countries. Eventually we won't even have to go through the farce, and that's what it is, of voting in parties or candidates, because in the latter part of the 20th century and now into the 21st century, we're being trained, rather obviously, to simply accept rule by experts, rule by scientists, rule by professionals, and that's what they mean when they call governance.
It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization.